Brings there. It's Friday night from the unknown, broadcasting from somewhere in time by the Bermuda Triangle. Well, sort of near it. I'm not that close to it, but I can't walk there. At least not yet. Greens, this is Interstellar Radio. This is not your normal radio broadcast. Nothing normal is here, as you can see. So the subject matter is Alpha Draconian reptilian history with the Orion constellation. So it's a little bit of a reptilian, at least a another perspective, and hopefully to help with activations and understanding all of this. And if nothing can be understood completely, we're not supposed to hear to understand everything, but everything's a download when you really think about it. Reality, our thinking, everything comes from somewhere from the astral plane. As we connect more to the non-physical, the physical realm will fight it, and well, the physical realm is always going to have a consciousness. It's always going to be around. It's just the non-physical people and the physical people start to maybe understand itself a little bit more. I mean, you might see yourself as a non-physical person, but which is true, but you're still physical, but you're understanding your roots a little bit more clearly as the battle continues with the manipulations of the earth. So obviously the reptilian race isn't necessarily the villain, but they're seen as the villain, but they're not exactly doing themselves any favors. There's ups and downs with everything. Of course, you have the Nordic Palladian beings that cause a lot of difficulties. Even feline beings cause difficulties too. There's insectoid beings. You can go on and on with that. Artificial intelligence causes difficulties here. They're doing. So there's a little bit of everything. So that's what tonight is. Tonight is a little bit of the unknown, or a lot of the unknown. So we're going to slowly go into that realm, but first, slide to update. Here is diamondteller.com. We have price sessions. We have the scheduler. We have the shop. At where are we at? I think we're on the. We just got into February, so I think I'm on the 31st of January, on the 1st of February. Same situation here. We have the webinar on Wednesday, social network and behind the scenes. Okay. All right, all systems go. Okay, this is perspective. Obviously, the Draco race isn't exactly the most love, hugs and kisses to them, but they do cause a lot of difficulties here. I don't care what anybody says. I know they say that they're loving, just want to give them a big fat kiss, but we don't all have to do that. you know, I mean, some have found a way to bring more positive energies out, and that's quite fine. So we're gonna go into a little bit of their history, the best of our ability, without getting blocked. Obviously, they want to be seen as the most positive beings in the universe, and maybe they are, but not everybody has those memories. So I connected to this subject this morning a little bit. I still remember parts of it, so we'll go into that first. So, realize this is a perspective. Everybody can have their own version of everything. This is activation to help you open up yourself, and maybe you can figure out who you are, and on and on. And tomorrow I was going to go into the Orion, more of the Star Wars energy, and see what I can tap into there. You always hear about Orion and Star Wars, Buck Rogers, and stuff like that. So that's going to be tomorrow night. But we're not there yet. So, Draco energy. So, there have been reptilian races all throughout this universe and other universes. Um, I would say mostly fine overall. Lizard people, snake people. Of course, the snake people can be a little bit aggressive depending on the type of snake, like the cobra. I mean, if you meet a nice cobra, which there probably are, More power to you on that. Even actually, the cobra has been weaponized over time. But you can go on and on with history. You can go on. You get so many layers to this. We're just gonna go into some aware of it. So let's just take the perspective of there's halfway decent reptilian races throughout the universe, deep in the universe's history, and whatever picked up on, at least in our deck of the woods of the universe, the Orion constellation, there are humanoid elf people that are pretty advanced in Orion, and you could say they're looking for, I don't know, an adversary, or they became selfish. And some of these elf people are bluish in color, greenish blue. You can, wherever perspective you like to take, but and they, I would say they captured some reptilian races, some of them, and did genetic modifications on them. You say insectoids did the same thing. Of course, you can say every species went through that, but the Draco, or the Dracos, you could say basically were weaponized. Of course, some of them are already aggressive as it is, but just weaponized even more. It's like basically a reptilian super soldier, basically, and is used for selfish reasons on other worlds. Now, we heard stories about Draconians are just, they evolved on their own and they created space travel. However, they did that. They probably had help, but anyway. And of course, they go to a feline world and see how wonderful the felines are living in this paradise, and then they get jealous about it and take it over. I'm not really going into that, but you could take that. I imagine people remember those lifetimes. But the Draco I was picking up on was, yeah, weaponized the super soldiers and dropped off on other planets to die or rot or whatever it is, even ones they didn't want. They took the best of their crop and left everybody else, and the ones that they left got really, really aggressive and really mad. And even I would say some of them did have the ability to create space travel, or at least to call on other beings that can help them with space travel. Because they've been so, modified with advanced energies. Of course, you could take that every way you want. But some of the Dracos are, yeah, you can say went back to their Orion founders and took them out, is the feeling I got from that. But that's kind of what the Orion beings wanted anyway. They wanted to see aggression in the universe, and they wanted to see power. They wanted to see if they can create like a Frankenstein being and just, cause chaos, basically. It doesn't always have to make any sense. You can destroy the maker all you want. They don't really care. As long as it's causing forbidden energies in the universe, as you see here, it doesn't have to make any sense. So those that are causing the chaos over on our world sometimes have no problem destroying themselves, for various different reasons. Some of them would even get a high off of it, which is kind of messed up when you think about it. So the Draconian races, yeah, they definitely took over politicians or across the universe and made them their own. So Dracos are basically programmed to control and conquer. Some of them, not all of them. There are definitely other reptilian races that are obviously positive. But when you get to like type of rattlesnake type of beings, yeah, I imagine there's some cobras that are just you want to give a kiss to. But there's also cobras that's like, I'm not getting near that. Of course, that's connected to the Naga races. And Naga races are known to be very seductive. And that also goes into Egypt, of course, and goes into Syria. But it feels like Naga races came from all different types of places. It wasn't just Sirius. But they definitely found their way here on Earth. I would say a lot of the why we can't remember amnesia comes from the cobra. And of course, you look at the cobra in Egyptian, The cobra is pretty. Obviously, some would see it as a positive, and there are positive cobra beings out there. But there's others that are just putting their magic on humanity, like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, and even the Draconians would even use cobra type of spells and manipulations. They're basically similar, like the master sorcerer magician. At least that's the vibe I'm getting from them. At least from the snake people, the Naga snake people. They're just like automatically made into spell creators. Even their blood, if depending on what dimension where there is blood, can also be used as poison, can be used as healing, can be used for several different things. So I would say even the cobra in Egypt is seen as actually as a protector of knowledge. Like if you have, this sacred knowledge, you put a bunch of snakes in front of it, you should be all right. So yeah, their use is good too. It's not all bad, not at all. It's you want to get a cobra to work for you, you're doing well. But yeah, they're just known as instant. They're just basically known as protectors. Most of the time, they just mind their own business. Usually, it seems like they're pretty decent over time, but when provoked, it's like, yeah, get out of there. So the Draconians. Now, the Draconians are also given wings to show superior that they're superior to other beings. So, and also, I feel like it was now obviously the bird, at least in old stories, like the carrion races, the bird races are known to create um, the Draconians. Most likely, they created their own version of it. So, what's happening is just there's a lot of yeah, there's a little bit of everything. I mean, some of the bird races wouldn't be similar to the reptilians. Some of the reptilians would be similar to the bird races. So, like here, we have a lot of the cats here. You know, have like reptilian eyes and reptilian brain and things like that. It seems like they lost the war here, basically. um, I mean, it wasn't always meant to be a reptilian planet. Obviously, it found its way to do that, but they're the more physically connected. It's just the Drake. Of course, the felines also have a way of connecting to the physical realm too. It's not just a draconian, just reptilians that can do the physical. Felines are pretty good. Yeah, even the canines are also. I mean, a lot of other animal beings are good at going into the physical direction. So what's happening here is just a lot of. We're definitely seeing another side. So the reptilian energies are known to also conceal a lot. Of course, you can say other beings are able to do the same thing, but the reptilians are good at keeping their dimensions unknown. I mean, if they want to be seen, they'll be seen. So on our world, obviously, they're one of the reasons why we can't see aliens. I believe it has a lot to. There's a Archon grid here. Was also a reptilian grid that's here. It's like we have the dinosaurs. We all have reptilian brains. We have some kind of reptilian agreement. Um, you can look at it positive or negative or however you want to see it. But there's just, I mean, it does seem like there's other planets that are actually protecting this Earth that got conquered, and it's like you have to conquer other. They're not showing what worlds these are, but there's other planets. I guess Mars would technically be a world that was supposedly protecting us at one time, and then got conquered and taken over. Well, they're showing me at least three planets out here protecting our world from us going into where we are today. And they all failed. They're not saying who. I get the energy of Jupiter was once a more powerful frequency, more intellectual, and our planet has just elements, minerals. I mean, you can see it however you want, but it reminded a lot of other beings of other planets like that were in Orion and even other universes. It gets kind of complicated there. This whole story gets kind of complicated when it gets down to it. But basically, the Draconian, at least some of them were just basically turned super soldiers when it comes down to it. Their creators were destroyed, it seems, or at least those that helped modify their DNA to be more powerful than others, and they just went on a rampage. They just because they could, they were built to take over. Now, obviously, some of them finally got used to their own DNA. It feels like even the Dracos themselves couldn't handle who they were. They're like psychotics. And like we can't even handle our reptilian side of ourselves. They couldn't handle it either. It's like you're high all the time. And it's like you get a high off of chaos, you can say. At least some of them are built that way. Some others find a way to calm that down. You can say they get infusions from other alien beings, like a feline being. They can get to calm down the reptilian self. When you're full reptilian, it depends on the situation, but you can be, at least a reptilian warrior. You're on a war path, basically. At least that's what some of them are designed to be. Of course, I also have Draconians are made as scientists. They can just figure out the nature and how to manipulate nature, but also to use the positive sides of nature, different types of nature. So there's also different types of reptilian beings used for different reasons. Like some are good at, as you see with us, some are, gee, it's like there's a whole lab of them, it seems. Some are made at good at piloting ships. Some are good at building ships. Some are designed to, I mean, not that they're playing God. I mean, kind of. But it's like when you're building an army. I mean, this is yeah, they're just basically a reptilian army, just basically, just jeez. It's just I'm not sure how they would figure that out exactly. I mean, it's like it comes back to Orion mentality. I mean, they talk about master geneticists. If they can, I don't know how they did that. That they just, it feels like construction workers. They're part of design of, you can say it's through teaching, but still, uh, there's still like a gene, like something done with a reptilian's genetics, where they can be a certain type of being. I mean, literally, they know your path. They can create your path for you. That's kind of messed up when you think about that. That's like borderline God power, practically. That's playing God, basically. And that's coming from Orion. So. I have to admit, when I look up in the sky, I look for Orion. I don't look for the other places. The other ones, the Orion constellation, I'm always looking for. I don't know what it is about it. I have not given the full. I don't know if I want to know. But Orion, just something is just so unique about it. I mean, there's other stars, other thing. It just Orion's like that's where it's happening. It doesn't mean it's all bad there. Some might say that, but it's 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 influencing us a lot, and for us to figure that out physically, I mean, through downloads helps, through spiritual connections, intuition, and all that. Yeah, yeah. It's just anyway. Back to uh, back to genetic engineering. So, yeah, this Orion like mad scientist group family that wanted to just create aggressors on the world. Now, there were some bird beings involved, but I'm getting more of a humanoid, elf type of psychotic, selfish bloodline that wanted to use the dragon against humanity or everyone for that matter. Now, interesting, humans were already roaming around. The energy I do get is that reptilians are built to go after humans because humans were becoming rebellious on other, other planet star systems. Not to say other beings weren't being rebellious either, but from this perspective, it feels, yeah, it's just there's like a vendetta to take out the humans. Like they were wrong to be ever created. Of course, humans always existed in some form or another. A lot of them have been genetically modified, and so on and so on. You can go on forever for that. Humans always had their way of being created somewhere. You know, I've also felt humans growing out of trees. Eggs. That's really pushing it, but anyway. But yeah, these to go back to, I imagine, well, they do have designer babies. So these are designer reptilians. So you have your designer, world taking over reptilian beings that are just, yeah, modified to do all kinds of things. Just, I would say millions of them were created. I have no idea how we conceal something like that. It's like nobody was paying attention. It was like done on an off world that nobody cares about. It feels like it was done in Orion. The skies are kind of blackish. It's kind of a dark planet overall. It's like a world that nobody cared about, and that's where they did a lot of this work to modify reptilian beings and, you know basically their universal takeover. It does seem like it got out of hand, but the reptilian beings did fight their, like I say, their creators, and you eventually destroy them. But the reptilians that were modified, it's like they just lost their minds. It took them a while to dial down their anger because they didn't know what to do with themselves. Basically, just like monsters created. Basically, yeah, used for assassination missions, mostly for politics, for finance. You can say technically for financial needs, even if, I mean, money is the root of all evil, right? I mean, in other star systems, a form of it has been created. It's like once you create money, it's like there's no going back. Yeah, it's like once you create a money system, it's like, hello corruption. It's not always has to be like that, but because usually like in a loving environment, you don't need money at all. Everybody just stays cool and hangs out with each other. But yeah, either way, when you get more physical, things get more complicated. This Orion world was fourth dimension at one time, but then became very physical third dimension due to, yeah, and they can lose their powers and all that. They're abusing their abilities, and they didn't care. Well, they knew they were going to lose their talent, so they didn't really care as long as they put all their knowledge into the reptilian beings. And the reptilian beings use technology. They just taught the reptilians how to survive, basically. And then it feels like some of the Orion beings did try to destroy them. Feel like it went too far, and that's when the reptilian race that was hybrid created just went after everybody. Despite there was embryos of reptilians, and of course they can be grown in eggs. They can be grown in different. All of them are built in a laboratory. It was like I say, designed. Like you could take a regular reptilian being and genetically modify it, like pretty much how they did us. But they most obviously worked with most of the embryos, you know, and just obviously wasn't perfect, but it seemed like the early reptilians were all psychotic. At least the majority of them were. Eventually, you had to modify, like I say, modify their DNA to become a little more toned and calmer as they take over your planet. Jeez. So there are weaknesses within them that the Orion beings used, like mental mind control they can do on reptilian beings. But they also build up the reptilians just like they build up us. It's like, you know, give reptilians all they want. Here's a relationship. Here's, a nice place to live and all this. Okay, I gave you all these nice things. And now I need you to do something for me. Orion beings have done that. So, uh, yeah, genetic modification. I mean, I think it has a lot to do with the Orion Wars. The Orions, I mean, there's different points of view, but basically they just one point of view, they just thought they were God. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them, they just figured it's the god of the universe, basically. They already had a lot of talents and power, and they just used it for all that was there. And even if they lost their power, they still felt like they won. Like I said, even if they destroy themselves, they won. As long as their creation continues on. Like the perfect reptilian being I would say murder machine, but obviously a lot of them have gotten better. It's just they're just made to conquer. When you're made to conquer, it's like being made to play football. It's like all you want to do is play football. That's how these guys are. I mean, some of them are actually designed to take over planets. Now, how they do that is beyond me. I don't know if, but anyway, they figured out a way to how to do that. Obviously, you can go against that programming, so they make a whole bunch of them, and some will go by that program. A lot of them won't. It all depends on the soul that latches on to that body, and if they want to continue with that program or not. It gets a little complicated with that. Yeah, these Orions are part of this super soldier Draconian. Yeah, they had all the resources they need, like super wealthy, longevity. They had everything you would ever want, and pretty much part of it was being bored. Other part, they just feel like they're a god and can do anything. And they slowly became more third dimensional, as I said earlier. So yeah, just yeah, our planet has many mysteries around it. Like I know it's like our humanity was given everything and threw it all away. I mean, there's different ways of looking at that, but there's like a long history of just like when this world finds peace, eventually it will find war. Not always, but a lot of times there's just it's like this planet has like all the designs of all these different planets, all codes and all this information. It's like this world's like a wealthy planet, at least in a lot of ways. Some might say it has no significance. I don't believe that. I believe it does. If that wasn't the case, why is this still? I mean, some things aren't adding up here. I don't think it's ever supposed to. I mean, yeah, this planet was based. I mean, it's a seed planet, so any being can basically come here and see their information here. But it's also about balance. It balances the universe. So it's like if the universe becomes like too out of touch with itself, those beings that became like selfish, they come here. So it's just a lot of draconian beings. You can say they were good at concealing the alien races. They're just good at keeping aliens hidden here. So it's another reason, yeah, they're kind of foot soldiers of the elite, basically. So the Orion beings that finally got their act together did not destroy themselves. The Ryan families, hmm, yeah, I want to use the word Lucifer. The word Lucifer comes to mind for some of these Orion families, and they're just are just ruthless, just want everything for themselves once again. And yeah, they might start becoming more well known here. I mean, they wiped out a lot of our history, but not everything's gone. Eventually, they might be remembered. I mean, the Orion constellation can't be forgotten. It's like given the way the pyramids are built, it's like these pyramids come from Orion. We just want you to remember where they came from. Obviously, there's more to all of this. But you say the Dracos, I mean, like for us to have reptilian brain is, it's like, yeah, basically we got conquered, you can say technically. Uh, Once we become more aware of those that have conquered our planet, but not in a judgmental way, but more of a healing factor, understanding more of the fourth dimension, as many people are, taking it more seriously. Some people do this alien stuff and they don't take it seriously, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the more you take it seriously, the more that you can move up the levels and see these beings spiritually and see like our captors, you can say. I mean, obviously, it's not as easy as that. But this world, it seemed like yeah, this planet was we were told to be taken over though. I mean, like we were ordered to go to where we are right now. Um, yeah, it's like this planet's like a jewel. There's nothing like it in the universe. Uh, of course, yes, the resources are trash currently. Of course, humanity was taking a lot of the brute force of the attacks, and obviously, a lot of the ancient wars on this planet war were just to keep us forgetting and forget, and with amnesia. It's like the more that humanity started to awaken, the more war would come through to for you forget. So we're still going through a war, it's just more like a silent war. It's a contract. People feel like the contract's over, but we have a it might be a long time before things start to open up. For us to know what's happening here on a on so these Orion families obviously don't want to make themselves. A lot of them are part of the councils. A lot of them used to rule the councils, and technically still do. So they can get other alien races to mess with us and to bring us down. It feels like a lot of the elephant races actually did what they could to keep us from going. I mean, humanity in the long run made the decision for all this to happen because the humans of this earth that were given this planet technically, it's like this is a world for humans, and the human race that was sort of advanced, sort of not. I'm not talking about the Atlanteans either, just a regular human race that was here during Atlantis race. The humanity just, you know, they wanted to know more about themselves. Like we already have negativity here, we already have a physical realm here. How far can we go with all of this? Like how deep can we go? And with that came war. It's like, okay, if you want to open up the demonic realms, war is the answer to no negativity, to know more of yourself. Obviously, there's much more than that. There's a more to everything, of course, but it's like, can you take us to I mean, as far as, of course, as worlds that can go further, down into depression, things like that, but this world still takes it pretty far. So as you become more aware of your galactic self in higher dimensions, obviously you're going to get more astral attacks and mental attacks and all that. So just yeah, but some alien races need to be known about, such as Draconian. A lot of Draconian races. There's all these different types, like a red race, a blue race. I was even a purple race. I know that sounds a little strange. I don't think it's called a purple race, but it's like a purple type of reptilian beings. Also a green type. Obviously, reptilians are green, but I would just see them as like a dark green, something like that, like a crocodile, basically, kind of grayish, something around those lines. Like the Komodo dragon. They're probably kind of ruthless at times, but overall they're pretty cool. Was it the iguana? What can an iguana? I guess iguana can kick somebody's ass, but overall they're pretty laid back overall. So iguana races, those are pretty pretty cool races. They have like a little mohawk going on there. So yeah, iguanas like the way they look. I would say they're kind of like the movie stars of the reptilian race. They just enjoy. They just like. People wonder, was like, if they're really obsessed with how they look, they could have been a iguana in their past life. They just seem to be very. They just enjoy the way they look. A lot of them do. Most of them do. Oh, whatever. But that's pretty funny. I don't usually see something like that. Let's see. I talked about the Cobra races or the Naga. Obviously, there's positive Naga. Of course, they're not exactly the easiest beings to be around. A lot of the Naga beings are mothers here on this planet. And yeah, I think they know everything. They do easily get possessed because Nagas are known to get possessed, especially by their mothers. Like a Naga being, is a half human, half snake. And I would say even in their race, being possessed is normal. Meaning, because you're like channeling loved ones, you're channeling, different races of your family, whatever, and they're just used to it. It doesn't go on forever. You say it can, but usually it's just for a short while. Or I know they're being able to talk through them. Yeah, just for various different reasons. They're just very spiritual people, and a lot of them are parents, and some of them are really terrible parents. Well, just hard to be around. Let's put it that way. I would say the snake races had a lot to do with the felines losing their battles here, or why we are more reptilian, and why the felines are reptilian. At least the ones in our world. Obviously, they have their reasons, but um, people are going to see different versions of all this. But one of the reasons for the felines, well, first, have to be connected to humans. Like, yes, they might have lost the war here technically. I mean, the war can go on. There was a war at one time between reptilians and feline beings, from what I'm gathering, a long time ago. And you can say they lost or they just compromised. They wouldn't be connected to humans. Humans already kind of get manipulated by reptilian beings in their past. So it's just the human here is almost like a paradox. Doesn't always make sense, as you probably know. Obvious, right? So why does a world like this exist? Is like to experience chaos. It doesn't always have to have a reason, but a lot of it's for chaos reasons. It's just there's just this world is just unique in all its experiences. Yes, it's very slow. The mind is where Archon beings come in. Obviously, the Archon technically runs the mind of humanity. Not all. They left the mind vulnerable, as you see with education and spiritual growth. Spiritual growth isn't there to protect our minds. It's funny how we put ourselves in homes and lock the doors, but we don't lock our minds. Well, in a way where we're not getting tampered with. You can have an open mind, that's great, but to close your mind so you don't get messed with, you can see manipulations more easy. It's hard to do that. So it's funny, we have these homes, we have these cars, and they can lock themselves, but our minds are not built to lock things out, and that's a difficult one to heal, obviously. Reptilians are obviously very good at mind control. Our energy got lowered so that we can be controlled. Kind of like I just have to. I mean, I don't like using this, but it's like we're almost like zoo animals in some regard. Like we're being tranquilizer in some regard. Like zoo animals, they get screwed. They put in cages. They get made to be put to sleep and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to put that energy out there, make people feel like we're just defenseless and we're screwed. But it's kind of, if you want to be honest, there's some of that going on, obviously. We're treated like wild animals, basically. And that was the agreement. So as we slowly start to evolve out of all this, yeah, the aliens are starting to become more known, even physically. Well, because it's game over, but we haven't figured that out yet. When we survive the test, even if the test makes no sense, it's like, okay, for example, you're doing something like you're going to a job you don't want to go to. It's a test. Um, you have to deal with family members you don't want to feel like dealing with. That's another test. It's like it doesn't always have to make a sense. In the higher dimensions, it does. It just doesn't show itself. But we're doing all this stuff for karmic reasons, whatever. But it's all it comes down to for us to move to a higher level. Not everybody's going to move to a higher level, but believe majority that are awakened are here to evolve into a higher level. They might not be aware of it, of course, on all the levels, but it's like, why did you come here? Come to improve yourself. But they're not necessarily going to tell you how. You see the cults and all that. Some cults are obviously Draconian connected. Boys, that's the truth of it. You want to sell your soul? Sell it to us. We'll make you famous. Your soul might not be yours anymore, but at least you're famous. Jeez, it's like talk about an experience. It's like whatever you say, it turns to gold. Everybody loves you, and you sold your soul. It's like, oh, by the way, this spiritual person, being controlled by reptilians or whoever it might be. So you wonder why they got so popular so fast. Well, they had a little bit of help there. The Dracos do play a role. Oh, that's the other thing. The Zeta were well, not to say created, but they're used as a foot soldier for the Draconians to do their dirty work. Some of the Zetas were, to make the best technology. I feel like the Zetas are more advanced than the Reptilians in technology because Zetas are always working on it, and Draconians are usually conquering. They're not always working on the technology. They might have a knowledge about technology, obviously, and keep themselves in the fourth dimension, so we can't see them. A lot of reptilians are messing with are in the third, fourth, I'll say fourth dimension, but they can be seen here, but they use technology not to be seen here. So obviously working with all nations. The Russians are working with. We doesn't mean the Russians are aware of it fully. I mean, obviously the shadow governments are aware of it, but um yeah, just show Russia. That's say if they're good or bad or whatever might be going on there. I mean, it's pretty obvious. China is kind of off limits. China's obviously a major contender in all this. You can say China came from another planet, another like an Asian realm. Uh, what is it called? Shambhala, something like that. It's similar to like Shambhala, very magical. Obviously, a lot of Asian people came from the sea because they like eating seafood. They look like frog people. Some of them do. They're just ocean people, basically. Some of them are. They basically come from a a magical ancient realm that feels like it can do better. It knows what's best. Universe. It's like keeping our world from being destroyed. Something like that. That's what China. That's the energy of China feels like. It's like, yeah, you wonder why our world hasn't been wiped out yet. Well, China. It feels like China had a big connection. Not that that's corrupt and all that. It just has a spiritual connection with the universe. They keep us going because a lot of Chinese have Arcturian. Of course, Asia and Arcturian kind of connect a little bit. A lot of Arcturian, yeah. Well, Einstein has a lot of Arcturian too. But Asian cultures usually, yeah, are a lot of ways superior mentally, not always physically. So the vulnerability of the physical body is similar to like a Zeta for some. So yeah. It is a reptilian gene to make you into a super soldier. I think we already know that. Some football players have it, not all of them, but quite a few of them do. The Palladians more just better metabolism. Uh, the Palladian energy is just better, like weight management. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but a lot of it's weight management. High intellectual connection, but just basically so the body's healthy. Uh, even Asian cultures are like that. Yeah, they just have a way about their culture. See, they were taught in their culture to keep themselves healthy by the way they eat and everything. Obviously, that was done by design. Well, they keep China going. If they're eating bad things all the time, obviously they want to survive. But China was just, yeah, they're not going into details, but obviously it plays a big role here. That one's kind of off limits. I mean, you guess connect to certain places they come from, but there's just a deeper connection here that I'm not allowed to tap into. It feels like. Um, some of them are kind of some Asian cultures or yeah leaders of the reptilians. Maybe they can control the reptilians. You can say the government of China is doing that through the dragons. The dragon's a little bit different than a reptilian. Dragons are more liberating, open, friendly, usually, not always, but a lot of them are just basically kind of pretty much like god beings overall. Of course, humans are god beings too, just in a human experience. They don't remember anything, but Oh, jeez. I guess the reptilians are involved with creating the cross. Yeah. But they do have rejuvenation energies. Um, basically for a body to live longer. So immortality, a lot of that's connected to the Anunnaki, but also the Draconians. So, all right, I'm just gonna have to like. It's been a long day. I'm just gonna close out for tonight. So, obviously, this is just a small piece to a bigger puzzle. But we'll just leave it with that. So, everyone, have a good night, and we'll be back tomorrow. Energy should be a lot better tomorrow. Tonight, just a long day. Going into details, but all right, blessings, everyone. Sure.